One more second and we'll be ready. Okay. So you can start now. Good luck. I will be here.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Now we have this panel F that is called Diasporic Lives Across and Along the Americas. And we have three panelists here. Me, I'm Elisa Lima Abrantes. I teach for Federal Rural Brazilian University in Rio de Janeiro. I teach literatures in English. And I'm the vice president of the Brazilian Association of Irish Studies in Brazil. The title of my talk is A Reflection on the Irish Involvement in the American Indian Wars in Days Without End by Sebastian Barry. This is my talk. And after me, we have SABRINA, SIQUEIRA, and with an overview on Maeve Brennan's Rose Garden, and MARÍA ISABEL ARRIAGA, Farewell to the Mother Country, Female Irish Migration Through Contemporary Irish Literature. Well, I will introduce the other panelists after my talk, right? So let me share my screen here. Share. Okay. So, are you seeing well my screen there? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if you put it in on presentation mode, it will be better.
All right. Okay.
You can.
This way?
Yes, perfect. Perfect.
All right. Well, I'll read a little bit. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, even online. Unfortunately, we couldn't go to Buenos Aires, but it's I've been following online, and it's really a great symposium. I've been working with Sebastian Barry, the writer, for some years now, and one of the things that impresses me most in him is his ability to illuminate human emotions and vulnerabilities through the characters that, for many times, perpetrate horrible acts because they are forced to do it due to the circumstances they face in life. And so they are at the same time victims and perpetrators of aggressions and violence. Barry expresses the sensibilities, doubts, and concerns of people involved in tragic and extreme situations, such as taking part in wars, for example, not for ideological causes, but for surviving. Reflecting on this issue, I want to share with you today some thoughts about the novel Days Without End, published in 2016, which tells the story of Thomas McNulty, an Irish immigrant and former American soldier who immigrated to America as a young boy in the 1850s after losing his family to the Great Famine in Ireland. The book is told in first person by this character, and he's now around 70 years old, and he recalls his life as a soldier in America, and as someone who witnessed and took part in the expansion of the West. At 13, he managed to get on a ship to Canada with other immigrants. It was a harsh experience for the boy, starving for 6 weeks on the ship and being shunned by people in Canada. Barry defines his main protagonist. This is the cover of the book. And Barry defines his main protagonist, Thomas McNulty's role, as someone dispossessing people like his own people. The story follows this immigrant through an America in the process of its own making and depicts the process by which, as McNulty escapes the violence of the old world, he becomes complicit with the foundational violence of the new world. Opening in 1851 Missouri, McNulty's narration ranges from his traumatic immigration to America, from a feminist strike in Ireland to his early experiences cross-dressing for minors in Dagsville with his lover John Cole, whom he met by chance under a hedge when both were adolescents, and then goes on to their enlistment in the US Army. The violence of both the Indian Wars and the Civil Wars is rendered in impressionistic prose and are uncomfortable historical realities that the novel refuses to shy away from. There are some quotes here when he talks about his arrival in Canada. The point is, we were nothing. No one wanted us. Canada was afraid of us. We were a plague. We were only rats of people. Hunger takes away what you are. Everything we were was just nothing then. Talk, music, Sligo, stories, future, past. It was all turned to something very like the shit of animals. And he continues, from Canada, he got to America, where he met the teenage orphan, John Cole, American whose great-grandmother was an Indian. They became friends, fell in love, and lived a lifelong romantic relationship, getting married and adopting a CU girl named Wainana. First, the two boys joined a sort of cabaret, where they danced dressed in drag.
Hello, we lost Elisa. Oh,
Yes.
let's wait. Well, let's wait for her to come back. Okay, let's see. Let's see if she comes back. If not, we'll have to move on, but let's wait for a couple of minutes, okay? Are you in contact with her, Sabrina, by chance? By WhatsApp?
Yeah, I have her contact by Facebook. I can try it.
Okay. Because I don't have her mobile phone number.
I think it was her internet. Probably.
No. Okay. Ah, here she is.
Ah.
Hello, Elisa. Hi, Jorge. We still can't listen to you, Elisa, so we'll wait for 1 more minute. Okay. Let's try. We can't hear you. Ah. Maybe Elisa would, no, we can't. Can you hear her? No, Isabel or Sabrina? No. Maybe if you remove your headphones. Or, no. Maybe in order not to delay, let's see if she can now. Okay. Would you think that if any one of Isabel or Sabrina continue, it would be best, and then we see if she can join us again, although she was in the middle of the presentation, but...
Yes, could be.
All right, all right. Okay, Sabrina, would you like to go? All right.
Is it better if I speak in English or no problem if I speak in Portuguese? Can you...
As you wish. I think that Isabel speaks Spanish, and but I don't know. For me, it's just the same. I don't know, Isabel. Have you prepared your lecture in Portuguese?
I prepared in English for reading, but I would like to talk more spontaneously.
All right. Okay. Well, so as you feel more comfortable.
Is it okay for you, Professor?
Yes, no problem.
Okay. So, Elisa, can you now? Can we hear you now? Let's see. We're planning to continue with Sabrina while you solve the technical problem, but unless you are ready. Elisa? Okay, so let's go with Sabrina then, while Elisa sorts everything out. Okay.
Good morning. Bom dia a todos. Então, eu vou apresentar para vocês em português, se Isabel e vocês não se importam, em função de ficar mais espontâneo, senão teria que ler aqui. A minha fala hoje é sobre este livro, The Rose Garden, da Maeve Brennan, e a parte da minha pesquisa de pós-doutorado na Universidade de Santa Maria, no sul do Brasil, Rio Grande do Sul, e com o apoio do CNPq. Bom, a minha pesquisa é focada no The Rose Garden, então, mas nós temos um outro livro de contos da Maeve Brennan, que foi publicado, inclusive, um pouco antes, em 1997, que é o The Springs of Affection. The Rose Garden vai ser publicado em 2000, e eu estudo e estou fazendo a pesquisa e vinculando a pesquisa principalmente em relação aos estudos de literatura de migração. A Maeve Brennan foi ela mesma uma migrante. A família da Maeve Brennan foi extremamente envolvida com a história irlandesa de libertação da Irlanda ou consolidação da República Irlandesa. O pai dela chega a ser preso em função do Easter Rising, de 1916, e quando finalmente a República se consolida, Robert Brennan é convidado, enfim, consegue o posto de primeiro embaixador irlandês nos Estados Unidos. Então, a família migra, ela tem 17 anos, termina os seus estudos nos Estados Unidos, faz faculdade e fica morando. Eles foram para Washington, depois ela muda para Nova York. E Maeve Brennan inicia uma carreira como jornalista. Então, ela participa em 2 publicações que, inclusive, existem ainda, The Harper's Bazaar e The New Yorker, onde ela trabalha a maior parte do tempo. E lá ela é uma jornalista de moda, principalmente, escreve uma coluna de opinião, com contos sobre a cidade. E esses 2 livros de contos são compilações de contos literários que a Maeve Brennan publica nessa época também, entre as décadas 1950 e 1960. A principal diferença, né, o critério utilizado quando se decide republicá-la agora, próximo aos anos 2000, são os cenários onde esses contos acontecem. In the Springs of Affection, a maioria dos contos acontece em Dublin, ou na Irlanda, e em The Rose Garden, a maioria deles acontece em Nova York, que é onde Maeve Brennan passa a maior parte do tempo, e consolida sua carreira, enfim, consegue muito sucesso, é uma pessoa bastante influente no seu tempo, como escritora e como jornalista, e a partir da década de 1970, ela começa a ter problemas, adoece, fica senil, começa a desenvolver uma senilidade, e acaba por ser uma escritora esquecida por décadas. Cai em uma situação bastante difícil, de quase um estado de homeless, vivendo em abrigos, em albergues, o que é bastante triste. Então, eu tô bem contente de poder fazer essa pesquisa com uma autora que não só é autoria feminina, a primeira vez que eu pesquiso autoria feminina, mas Maeve Brennan é uma autora de autoria feminina que olhou muito para o feminino, deu muita voz ao compor personagens femininas em situação de vulnerabilidade, apesar de frequentar uma elite americana em Nova York, ela constrói personagens e isso é um indício de que ela tinha toda uma sensibilidade para um grupo de pessoas que trabalhava, de imigrantes irlandesas, especificamente nos Estados Unidos, que trabalhava nas profissões que podem ser consideradas como subempregos. Então, ela fala principalmente de irlandesas que migravam para os Estados Unidos e trabalhavam como domésticas. Ela tem as principais protagonistas de Maeve Brennan são mulheres, praticamente todas, se não são personagens com alguma característica feminina, cuja feminilidade é muito forte, muito marcante. Mulheres numa faixa de 40 anos, que talvez também não fossem as protagonistas preferenciais até um bom tempo na literatura. Coincidentemente, era a idade que ela tinha quando publicava esses contos. E uma das questões mais interessantes, eu estou bem no início da pesquisa ainda, comecei em julho, essa etapa da pesquisa, mas uma das questões a que eu venho me dedicado e procurado ler, procurado artigos a respeito, é a questão das Bridgets. Bom, essas meninas irlandesas, jovens, que migravam para os Estados Unidos ou para a América do Norte em geral, Canadá também, que iam trabalhar como domésticas, acontece esse fenômeno com muitas delas, talvez pela influência de Santa Brígida na cultura irlandesa, e muitas terem o nome de Bridget, ou talvez pela dificuldade de pronúncia dos nomes em gaélico, com origem irlandesa. Quando essas meninas chegam nos Estados Unidos para trabalhar, elas são todas meio que colocadas debaixo desse apelido comum, que é Bridget, e suas variações, Bridget, Bridget, e então elas perdem muito da sua identidade. A gente está falando de imigração no século XIX, às vezes, são meninas que às vezes se despediam da família para pegar um navio e ir trabalhar do outro lado do Atlântico, e muitas vezes era uma despedida que podia significar para a vida toda, né? Eram viagens assim de dias em um navio e muitas vezes sem possibilidade até a curto prazo de um retorno para ver a família. E aí a Maeve Brennan dá voz e coloca essas Bridgets como protagonistas de muitos dos seus contos. Essa é uma das questões, então, a questão das protagonistas femininas. E agora que eu já dei um apanhado geral, acho que eu passo para a minha leitura, se eu ainda tenho um tempinho, eu acabei esquecendo de marcar até que quantos minutos iria. Mas a Maeve Brennan nasce em Dublin em 1917 e vem a falecer em Nova York em 1993, aos 76 anos, e infelizmente nessa condição de um tanto quanto relegada, um tanto quanto esquecida. Muito do que vê-se do que foi a vida da autora também está na literatura, também pode ser rastreado nos contos, como temáticas, como a solidão feminina, a própria questão de ser uma migrante, né, de estar vivendo em uma outra cultura. E eu acho super interessante que ela, que chegou como uma imigrante numa situação de conforto até, porque foi como filha de um embaixador, morar em Washington, e frequentou durante toda a sua vida um grupo mais privilegiado, a gente pode dizer assim. Ela teve toda essa sensibilidade de olhar para suas conterrâneas e perceber a diferença de tratamento nesses círculos, porque ela era convidada para jantares, ela frequentava festas, enfim, em hotéis, e nesses jantares, nessas festas, nesses hotéis, ela era servida, muitas vezes, as famílias que a convidavam eram servidas por essas Bridgets, despersonalizadas, debaixo desse nickname, desse apelido, que acabavam todas sendo chamadas de Bridgets, e percebia a diferença de tratamento, talvez percebesse algum preconceito em relação ao accent, ao sotaque, com que essas meninas chegavam, muitas meninas vindas de áreas rurais, e isso é uma grande inspiração na obra de Maeve Brennan. Eu tenho lido artigos, enfim, bastante material de uma pesquisadora que se debruçou sobre a obra dessa escritora, que é Ellen McWilliams, e McWilliams diz algo muito interessante, e inclusive é título de um artigo dela, que é sobre a Maeve Brennan ter feito uma vingança das Bridgets, porque ela era uma jornalista de moda super influente e muito lida no The New Yorker por uma classe social alta, que era essa classe social, essas famílias que empregavam as conterrâneas irlandesas e as despersonalizavam, as tratando todas por Bridgets. E aí elas tinham esse tratamento, né, essas famílias, esse grupo social, tinha esse tratamento para com essas imigrantes irlandesas, e, no entanto, abriam a revista The New Yorker para ler o que uma outra irlandesa havia escrito que seria tendência para a moda, para as próximas estações, que esse era o papel principal da Maeve Brennan. Então, a Ellen McWilliams entende isso como uma boa de uma vingança, né? E uma ironia também, que essas pessoas, por outro lado, seguissem os conselhos de moda e de comportamento e de estilo de uma outra irlandesa. Eu acho que seria mais ou menos isso. A minha pesquisa está super no início. Eu gostaria de traduzir também esses contos, é uma intenção que eu tenho para um final, assim, encerramento de pesquisa, para o português, porque eu tive aula sobre Maeve Brennan durante o doutorado sanduíche, na Universidade de Limerick. E eu lembro, na aula, a minha professora comentando, a disciplina era literatura de migração, e eu lembro da minha professora irlandesa, para os meus colegas irlandeses, comentar o seguinte: vamos ver hoje, então, uma autora que, inclusive, na Irlanda é muito pouco pesquisada e muito pouco conhecida, porque ela ficou esquecida por décadas, voltou a ser publicada, mas a gente sabe, né, que também, para uma mulher, é mais difícil, às vezes, ganhar o espaço editorial, o espaço de divulgação, uma mulher que já faleceu há décadas, e eu guardei isso. Bom, se ela não é muito pesquisada nem na Irlanda, talvez seja um bom mote aí de pesquisa. E estou ainda cheia de ideias, assim, para que lado ir, do que escrever, mas é isso, é um início por enquanto.
Thank you, obrigada.
Obrigada.
That's, I think, just as much as I can say in Portuguese. Well, I think that we haven't recovered ELISA. So, Isabel, ¿querés seguir vos? No sé si lo tenés en español o en inglés, pero lo que prefieras. También, como en el caso de Sabrina, lo que prefieras, adelante.
Okay, well, this presentation is an abridged version of my master thesis in English, in which I analyze female representations and special configurations in contemporary Irish authors. The three authors I chose for my analysis are John McGahern with Amongst Women, a 1990 novel, Country Being with Brooklyn, 2006, and then O'Brien, The Light of Evening, 2009. And the three authors share the issue of having a very strong sense of the place. So even though McGahern and Edna O'Brien had to write from exile, all of them always have Ireland in their mind when they write their stories.
Sorry, Isabel. Can the rest of the people here see Isabel's screen?
No?
I can't. ¿Puedes ver la pantalla de Isabel?
Let me see.
A ver, vamos otra vez. Porque se vio, pero después, a mí por lo menos se me puso negra la pantalla. No sé, chicas,
Okay.
ustedes. ¿Sí? Ok.
Now?
No, we can see your screen, but like you're trying to open the file, but not the file itself yet. Oh, I can't. The screen is black. No. I think there might be a problem with the computer. Let's see. Here, yeah, perfect. Now, yes, Isabel. Perfect.
That's all right. Thank you. So as to understand the context in which these three novels are set, we must remember that the history, 19th and 20th history of Ireland was shaped by the great migration waves. So the greatest one in the 19th century is the one about the Great Famine by 1849, 1845, 1849. But in the mid-20th century, there was another huge migration wave between the 1940s and the 1960s. Now, starvation was not the cause, but the necessity of finding a job abroad because of the difficult economic situation in Ireland. So the preferred destinations for Irish migrants were the United States and the UK, because since they spoke English, it was easier for them to enter in those countries. Since the economic situation was rather bad, there was a high unemployment rate during all these years. So thousands of Irish people decided to migrate. But what is interesting about migration is that female migrants outnumber Irish men in both 19th and 20th century migration. However, the issue of migration was not a common topic in contemporary Irish literature until the 1990s, probably because this is the time in which new studies on diaspora emerged in Ireland. So we can say that the construction of a new nation does not only start in the 1990s with the Celtic Tiger, the globalization and the modernization of Ireland, but in fact there were some historical events that started to build at least the desire of a new nation by the mid-20th century. And this construction can be understood when we know about Irish female migration, when we see how very slowly the patriarchal schemes start to weaken by those times, and how women start to gain emancipation. So by the 1950s, Ireland survived on an agricultural economy. There was economic stagnation, high unemployment rates, insufficient investment for industries or factories. The situation slightly improves in the 1960s, but in sociocultural terms, until the 1970s, Ireland was dominated by a strong patriarchy, in which the Catholic Church had a great influence, not only in social affairs, but also in state affairs. And these patriarchal values, of course, determine a great gender inequality and little possibilities for women. So along most of the 20th century, the cultural construction of the female image was based on the values of nationalism, Catholicism, and patriarchy. Patriarchal education made women suitable for domestic sphere, but it didn't encourage professional development. The construction of the figure of the Irish woman was related to that idea of Mother Ireland, so the virtues of passivity, submissive, and obedience were encouraged. The first of the novels, Amongst Women, by John McGahern, is a clear representation of 1950s and 1960s Irish family, commanded by an authoritarian patriarch, Michael Moran, Then the novel evolves, showing that the history of this family, in fact, becomes a metaphor of change in Ireland by the 1940s and 1950s. We can see that the only trait of social change in that family is brought by Rose, Moran's second wife, who introduces the family with the idea of emigration as an option for the children. Luke, that is the eldest son of the family, had migrated to England several years before because of the bad relationship he had with his father, and so he never came back. But in the case of the girls, they started to see the possibility of migrating when they finished secondary education, so as to have a profession abroad. They either moved to Dublin or to England. Anyway, they continue coming back home because the family house is for them the representation of home. So for the main sons in that family, migration is seen as freedom from the restrictive atmosphere established by their father, but for the girls it is a possibility of developing professionally and socially. Then we had Brooklyn by Contour Bean, in which we can see the representation of the Irish diaspora, how it was organized and how it worked in America by the 1950s. Although emigration had not been an option to consider by the main character, Alice Lacey, a 20-year-old girl in Enniscorthy, she has the opportunity of migrating to the United States so as to have a better job opportunity and to develop a future of her own. She had not considered becoming a migrant because she had hoped that her whole life would be lived there in Enniscorthy like her mother's, but her eldest sister, Rose, who is single, 30 years old, and has a good job, she introduces the family with an Irish priest, Father Flatt, who lives in New York. And so he convinces the family of sending Alice to America. In this novel, we can see how diasporic identities work, the trauma of dislocation, the slow process of adaptation, the assimilation and negotiation of values between both cultures, how the opportunity of migrating is also a new beginning, although it is difficult. Cultural fragmentation, the cultural clash between Americans and Irish is also present in the novel. And that idea for diasporic subjects that there is no one home, that home is a mental construction, a space for safety, a space that is constructed through memory, through emotions, but not necessarily a physical place. So we can have several homes in life for diasporic subjects. Toynbee explores the experience of departure, of assimilation, of cultural negotiation, and the duality of being a woman and at the same time a migrant. When the main character comes back because Rose, her eldest sister, dies, so she comes back to Enniscorthy, she's not the same woman that she was when she left. She has acquired new dress habits, new attitudes, and she has developed new perspectives of life, but they clash with patriarchal Ireland. So as she had married in secret before going back to Ireland, when she's at hometown, she forgets about her life in America. She joins her former friends. She starts flirting with another man until the fact that she was married is disclosed by a neighbor, and so she understands that she doesn't fit neither in America nor in Ireland, because her situation wouldn't be accepted in a so strongly moral society as the Irish was, but she also didn't feel at home in America. Since her mother, that becomes a representation of Mother Ireland, says that she must go back to her husband, she decides to return America, although she wished to remain in Ireland. So in this novel, we can see that assimilation of the mother, the Irish mother, with the figure of Mother Ireland. They are unable to communicate with their children. At first, they do not agree with them leaving, but then they cannot retain their children because of these strict moral values that prevailed in patriarchal Ireland. And in the last of the novels, The Light of Evening, we can see that same relationship between mothers and daughters as a very complex relationship that in a way or another is similar to the situation of Edna O'Brien with her own motherland. We can see a dysfunctional Irish family, mothers and daughters that are distant because the daughters decide to emigrate. We can see two stories in the novel. The first one, that is very short, is about Dilly when she's a teenage and she decides to go to America because there were no possibilities for employment in Ireland. Her mother, Bridget, of course, opposes, but she ends up leaving. Here we can see an unromanticized representation of the life of a migrant in the United States, because Dilly is exposed to difficult situations, discrimination, humiliation. He also serves as a maid in a rich family house, but she ends up disillusioned, and so she decides to go back to Ireland. And there she ends up marrying a man. She had been engaged for a few weeks, and she, in a way or another, fits the patriarchal schema for women. The majority of the story is about Eleonora and Dilly. Eleonora is Dilly's daughter. Dilly, by the beginning of the story, is already 78 years old, and she's ill at hospital. So the relationship between mother and daughter evolved through letters. Letters that are written between both, but most of them are never sent. We can analyze or see the relationship between both, but they don't receive the majority of those letters. We can see a contrast between the life of both women. Both have decided to emigrate in their youth. Dilly comes back. Eleonora, who is a fictional character built with many autobiographical elements of Edna O'Brien's life, becomes a writer after having a degree in science. And when her first novel is received as a scandal in her hometown, she decides to emigrate to England. And there she lives for the rest of her life, becoming a writer. So we can see that the main difference between these two women that choose at a moment of their life to be migrants is between surrendering to the patriarchal schema or rebelling against it. Dilly surrenders and Eleonora rebels against it. The novel also defies in a way or another the stereotypes, mid-20th century stereotypes about women, femininity, sexuality, and that idea of home, of not being at home neither in Ireland, neither in a foreign country. Edna O'Brien uses the image of the female migrant so as to explain the vicissitudes of being a migrant, especially in America, but also in England, and so as to portray the conflicting mother-daughter relationship in which, once again, we have this idea of a very strong, intolerant mother who is unable to communicate her feelings to her daughters, and for this reason, and because of her strict moral principles, the relationship between mother and daughter is not very good. So she once again becomes another representation of Mother Ireland and of the relationship that Edna O'Brien had with her homeland. So lack of communication against at the core of this novel. So as to conclude, we can say that 1950 Irish history can be read through the history of Irish migration, but mainly through the history of female Irish migration, because the three authors described the situation of these Irish women as trapped within this patriarchal context, oppressive context, which leaves very little opportunities for them, and that tries to condemn any attempt of women to live a life of their own, or to move away the values of the patriarchal society. Another common issue in these three novels is the idea of home. Most of these people, these female migrants, do not feel at home, neither abroad nor when they come back to Ireland. Some of them feel that they not fit in any of the contexts, and others develop a plurality of homes along their lives. Immigration is not only a way out of the difficult economic situation, but also starts to be seen as a way out of the restrictions imposed by patriarchy. So we can say that social change that becomes the greatest trait of Ireland in the 1990s started by the 1950s, 1940s, 1950s, with all these historical and economic issues that allow women to go outside Ireland. And I want to finish my presentation with the words of Irish President MAEIS that summarize this situation. The immigrant's heart marches to the beat of two quite different drums, one from the old homeland and the other from the new. The immigrant has to bridge these two worlds, living comfortably in the new and bringing the best of his or her Asian identity and heritage to bear on life in an adopted homeland. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabel. Sorry, I think I could come back here finally. And now I think Paula is the one who's presenting now. Paula is licensed in history, right? And is attending the master course with and it's almost defending the thesis. I don't know Spanish, and I don't know how to speak well in Spanish, but I try to read here. Is the thesis entitled Fui su esclava y ahora soy una sobreviviente. Memórias de las cautivas de los asilos de las Madalenas en la Islanda de la 20º Centro en Marco de la Maestría en Historia y Memoria, right? And this is a partnership between the Universidad de La Pampa and the Universidad de San Juan.
La Universidad de La Plata y la Universidad de la Patagonia San Juan Bosco.
Oh, okay. And so, thank you, Paula. And can you start your talk? That is Gente, Pequeña, Brujas, Mendicantes, Handy Women, Educadores, Itinerantes, Sepultureros, Maleantes, Resistencias, Otras, a la Dominación Británica. Is this? Okay, so it's about resistance.
Long title. Voy a tratar de compartir pantalla. One moment, please. ¿Se ve, no?
Sí. Yes.
Ahí está.
Si querés poner, ahí está, perfecto.
Sí, yo lo veo bien. Cualquier cosita me avisan. Bueno, yo voy a presentar mi ponencia en mi lengua, que es con la que me siento más cómoda. Y esta ponencia que aquí les presento intenta dar cuenta de aquellas formas de resistencia ensayadas por el campesinado irlandés durante el siglo XIX, las cuales se volvieron mucho más agudas conforme arreció el quinquenio de la hambre. En el título hablo de resistencias otras a la dominación británica y me gustaría comenzar hablando de la primera de ellas, de la primera que menciono en mi ponencia, que se refiere a la relación de reciprocidad y de cooperación que se decía hermanaba a el campesinado irlandés, fundamentalmente, y sobre todo el irlandés pobre, con los buenos vecinos o la gente pequeña o la buena gente, que era como se denominaba en la Irlanda decimonónica al mundo sobrenatural en general y a los duendes y elfos en particular. Campesinas, campesinos y pescadores sostenían que solamente los más pobres podían relacionarse con seres sobrenaturales y con criaturas celestiales y ser instruidos o apadrinados o beneficiados por ellos. A lo largo y ancho de la isla circulaban muchísimas anécdotas, muchísimos relatos populares que hacían mención a estos auxilios sobrenaturales. A modo de ejemplo, les leo dos brevísimos fragmentos de dos cuentos, uno rescatado de un relator anónimo por Rosa Spinny Reynolds y el otro por William Butler Yeats. El primer fragmento dice así: hace ya mucho tiempo, pero mucho tiempo, vivía en el pueblo de Killarney, en la más occidental de las Islas Aran, en la bahía de Galway, un anciano pescador cuya familia, compuesta por su esposa y 7 hijos varones, pasaba tantas penurias económicas que muchas veces no hallaban en su casa un solo bocado que llevarse a la boca, por lo que el pobre hombre debía ir a la playa a buscar mariscos con que alimentarlos, cuando las galernas invernales no le permitían salir a pescar con su maltrecho bote. Pero cierto día en que regresaba al hogar sin haber podido atrapar un solo pez, vio surgir del mar a una hermosa mujer de largos cabellos verdes que se dirigió a él de esta forma: pobre pescador, me entristece verte tan desdichado. Concédeme a tu hijo mayor en matrimonio para mi hija y yo te ayudaré. Y ya no volverán a pasar penurias, ni tú ni tu familia. Bueno, esta suerte de socorro sobrenatural no tenía nada que ver con la filantropía. La filantropía y los mendrugos arrojados por la caridad y por la limosna generalmente provenían de algunas instituciones religiosas católicas y protestantes asentadas en la isla, de unos pocos extranjeros conmovidos por las imágenes del pueblo hambreado, de escasísimos lores y de alguna que otra política aislada y mezquina del gobierno inglés. Estas concesiones provenían siempre desde arriba, pero contrariamente a estas concesiones, a la irlandesa y al irlandés pobre les complacía pensar en una suerte de nivelación de las jerarquías sociales a la hora de relacionarse con esos buenos vecinos, con quienes decían que primaban los vínculos de solidaridad, de igualdad y de honestidad. Ahora bien, desde el punto de vista histórico, esta suerte de camaradería entre los estratos bajos irlandeses y los seres feéricos debe ser vista como el corolario obligado de la vinculación entre las condiciones materiales de existencia, las paupérrimas condiciones materiales de existencia, y la cultura popular. Y además también pueden ser pensadas como una instancia imaginativa y creativa de resistencia que muchas veces antecedió a la acción. Y les doy un ejemplo. Esta camaradería que les estaba mencionando se materializó en muchas ocasiones en la costumbre del plato de comida en el exterior de la vivienda. Las familias irlandesas solían apartar cada noche una ración de sus exiguas cenas y colocarlas en el umbral de sus puertas para satisfacer las necesidades de la gente pequeña. Esta costumbre ha sido muy bien documentada por Lady Wilde, Lady Gregory, William Butler Yeats, Douglas Hyde y otros. Las masas rurales asumían este compromiso con la certeza de que las papas o lo que tuvieran para compartir habrían desaparecido a la mañana siguiente. Y a cambio serían beneficiadas con la buena fortuna y con la buena salud para los miembros de la comunidad, sus animales y sus cultivos. Y ustedes dirán dónde está la resistencia que tanto menciono en el título y que tanto trabajo en la ponencia. Bueno, piensen ustedes que en un país y en un momento histórico en donde había tantos mendigos y tantos desahuciados, la costumbre del plato en el umbral de la puerta podía salvar vidas. ¿Por qué? Porque lo que agasajaba a la gente pequeña bien podía alimentar a los indigentes. En las noches de Irlanda, las siluetas de los menesterosos podían, y de hecho lo hacían, se confundían con las figuras informes de lo sobrenatural. El plato en la puerta de cada casa campesina se erigió entonces en salvaguarda de una multitud de familias que habían sido expulsadas de sus casas y de sus parcelas, y que habían sido privadas de los medios de producción con los que solían ganarse la vida, ¿no? Entonces podemos pensar en el bocado, en el umbral de la puerta, como una forma de resistencia y también como una estrategia de supervivencia, de clase, pero también de nación. Bueno, esa es una de las formas de resistencia. Otra de las formas de resistencia a la que quisiera referirme fue una praxis colectiva, consuetudinaria, habitual, pero exclusivamente llevada a cabo por los varones de los estratos más bajos de la sociedad irlandesa decimonónica. Y fue esta que ven acá, que fue el recurso a la mano de gloria para llevar a cabo ciertas fechorías. La mano de gloria era una reliquia que se suponía debía proteger a los saqueadores, a los salteadores. ¿De qué manera? Bueno, tenía el poder de destrabar cualquier cerradura de hechizar a los habitantes de las casas objeto del robo para que no despertaran, y de evitar que los ladrones fueran vistos, fueran descubiertos. Como se puede ver en la imagen, la mano de Gloria era literalmente la mano arrancada al cadáver de un delincuente escarmentado con la pena de muerte, preferentemente ahorcado, y luego sometida a un proceso de deshidratación. Para que esta mano de Gloria surtiera efecto, debía además portar una vela en su palma o entre sus dedos, hecha con la grasa del propio muerto. El fracaso en la operación de robo solía deberse a la realización defectuosa del ritual de preparación de la mano, o más comúnmente a la mezquindad del asaltante solitario. ¿Por qué? Porque era muy importante que el robo con la mano de Gloria se hiciera en conjunto. Debía ser un asunto colectivo. Hacia mediados del siglo XIX, fundamentalmente durante el quinquenio del hambre, campesinos desposeídos y jornaleros desempleados se convirtieron eventualmente en mendigos y vagabundos, y acabaron integrándose en estas bandas delictivas que dirigían sus ataques casi exclusivamente a las mansiones de los grandes latifundistas ingleses, lo que da prueba que el uso de la mano de obra no solamente fue una praxis de resistencia colectiva, sino que además fue una forma un tanto velada de confrontación de clase. Otra forma de resistencia también colectiva, también consuetudinaria, fue la mendicación femenina, que se volvió muy belicosa y se generalizó fundamentalmente a mediados del siglo XIX. Cuando las cosechas, cuando las reservas de papa se acababan o se echaban a perder, las mujeres de las diferentes aldeas salían en grupo a recorrer los campos y los pueblos en busca de algún penique o de algo para comer. Siempre salían en grupo y siempre llevaban con ellas a sus hijos para causar una mayor impresión en la sensibilidad del presunto donante. Durante la mal llamada Gran Hambruna, estos grupos de mujeres se volvieron cada vez más beligerantes, más abundantes, más numerosos, y se lanzaron en medio de la desesperación a rutas, calles, puertos, y muchas veces su mendicación se convirtió en verdaderos motines del hambre, en verdaderos motines de subsistencia dirigidos a los hilos de los acaparadores y de los exportadores, y también a los carros de harina. Estas imágenes que les muestro pertenecen a ilustradores profesionales de los periódicos de la época que inmortalizaron a estas mujeres y a sus hijos. Y les muestro ilustraciones porque en aquella época los daguerrotipos eran sumamente costosos y por lo tanto excepcionales. Entonces, una forma de representar la realidad era convocando al ilustrador al lugar de los hechos. También quisiera hablarles, y muy brevemente porque no sé cómo voy con el tiempo, del recurso a las brujas doctoras como otra forma de resistencia colectiva, esta vez muy clara, muy evidente, muy palmaria, y muy arraigada en cada condado de la Isla Esmeralda durante todo el siglo XIX, pero también antes y después. Las brujas doctoras, también denominadas damas sabias o mujeres sabias o damas mágicas, se desempeñaron como reputadas sanadoras, comadronas, herbolarias y mediadoras con el mundo férico y también con el más allá, pero no solo eso, también tuvieron un rol político muy importante. Ellas fueron las juezas de las cortes clandestinas de sus aldeas, fueron las responsables de organizar la huida o el ocultamiento de irlandeses rebeldes o proscritos, y fueron las encargadas de organizar también la redistribución social. Las brujas doctoras fueron importantes porque volvieron prescindibles a los ojos del pueblo a jueces, notarios, abogados, policías, médicos diplomados e incluso a sacerdotes. ¿Sí? Cada visita a estas mujeres entrañó una negación de los funcionarios de la administración inglesa. Cada invocación de sus destrezas constituyó en definitiva un desafío al sistema, ¿sí? Entonces, aquí una forma palmaria, evidente de resistencia popular. Y finalmente quisiera hablarles de las handywomen, quienes fueron las parteras por excelencia de la Irlanda rural hasta mediados del siglo XX. Handywoman significa literalmente mujeres que dan la mano, porque eso es lo que hacían. Estas mujeres sostenían a la parturienta de las manos y de los brazos para poder facilitar el parto y aliviar el dolor. Eran muy estimadas en sus comunidades y también en las aldeas aledañas porque eran portadoras de un bagaje enorme de conocimiento empírico que estaba en constante actualización y porque además eran personas de una gran calidad humana que hacían sentir contenidas a las parturientas y a las puérperas. Siempre trabajaban colectivamente y hacían participar del parto a las vecinas y a las parientas. Y se les solía pagar con un vaso de whisky y con la melodía proveniente de la gaita del vecino más virtuoso de la vecindad. Hablo del recurso de la handywoman como forma de resistencia porque en todas las comunidades se aferraron a ellas, rechazando tajantemente la visita y la atención de enfermeras diplomadas laicas y eclesiásticas. Les tomó muchos decenios, primero a la administración británica y luego al Estado Libre Irlandés y a la Iglesia Católica, erradicar este recurso que consideraban obstinado a estas mujeres, debiendo recurrir a la criminalización de sus actividades, a la coerción, a la promulgación de nueva legislación, incluso a la difamación a través de diarios y de folletos con argumentos basados en la rudeza, en la ignorancia y en el alcoholismo de estas mujeres. Las handywomen dejaron de ejercer sus artes en 1955 cuando comenzaron a ser judicial y penalmente perseguidas y sancionadas con la pena de prisión por tiempo indeterminado. 1955. Todo ese tiempo, desde principios del 19, les llevó primero a la corona inglesa y luego al Estado Libre erradicar el recurso a estas mujeres. Bueno, en definitiva, y para ir cerrando, quiero insistir en que la creencia en la existencia de relaciones horizontales con el más allá y el mundo feérico, la costumbre del plato de comida en el umbral de la puerta, el recurso a la mano de gloria como afrenta a los latifundistas ingleses, la mendicación femenina, la centralidad de las brujas doctoras y la perdurabilidad de las handywomen constituyeron praxis populares, colectivas, consuetudinarias y no del todo explícitas de resistencia, fundamentalmente a la dominación británica. ¿Qué aprendí con esta breve investigación que llevé a cabo? Bueno, aprendí que el despliegue de la imaginación y de la inventiva en estas formas de resistencia tan peculiares hizo del campesinado irlandés un sujeto histórico capaz de construir desde abajo, fundamentalmente desde los discursos y desde las prácticas de la cultura popular, sus propias posibilidades de agencia. Las y los irlandeses decimonónicos, como dice Silvia Rivero Cusicanqui, estuvieron oprimidos, pero de ninguna manera vencidos. Muchas gracias. No se escucha, Elisa.
Sorry. Well, in fact, it's time for us to finish, but Veronica told us that we could continue here a little bit longer. So,
sorry, Elisa, they have just told me that I think that you should finish your presentation and we should leave because of the other thing, right?
Okay. Oh, all right. No problem. No problem. I'll try to show my, to share my screen with you. I don't know if this is the cause of the problem, but I'll try to share. And I won't read anymore. I just show you some codes, right? Some codes here. Let me share here. Share screen. This one. Share. Okay, is it okay for you? Yes. Okay, so it's just some quotes from the novel. Here, the number of Irish people involved in American wars, and so here the character says, in the army you meet a dozen men a month come from Ireland, but you never hear them talk about it much. You know an Irishman because he has it writ all over him. And it's interesting, he goes on justifying the suitability of the Irish for fighting wars when he says how we were able to see slaughter without flinching because we were nothing ourselves to begin with. We knew that to do with nothing. We were at home there. And this feeling of being nothing refers, of course, to the Irish being subjugated by the British colonial system in Ireland. We have lots of descriptions of the life on the frontier, such as this one. We were 4 or 5 days from the frontier, just a bit of riding out to Missouri, and what we called home when a storm came in over us. It was one of those bleak ice storms. Everything is touched freezing, including the bits of our bodies showing. It's very raw and blood sometimes. And this description of nature and of the encounters with the Indians, I'll show something more about the code. Our gloves froze, and soon our fingers were fixed fast around the reins, like our hands had seized and gone to their reward. I couldn't feel them, which was maybe just as well. There were some soldiers who died or who had this frostbite and gangrene because of these harsh conditions of weather. Some scenes are really bloody, such as this one. The wounded are making the noises of ill-butchered cattle. Throats have been slit, but not entirely. There are gurgles and limbs held in agony, and many have stomach wounds that presage god-awful deaths. And then continues like that, this blood description. This is about the Civil War, because first the characters engaged the American Indian Wars, and after that, so they left after the term of service. They were dismissed. And later on, they come back again to fight in the Civil War. There is another thing. This is a comment about the Civil War. There is another thing or other things we have no names for because it's not part of usual talk. It is not like running at Indians who are not your kind, but it's running at a mirror of yourself. Those Johnny Rabs are Irish, English, and all the rest. And also, as I commented before, that hundreds and thousands of Irish fought in the American wars. And in the Civil War, we had Irish people fighting in both sides, right? So it's this confusion of identities and ideologies and causes. And we have, of course, this love, this romantic relationship between these two male characters. And we have something here. McNulty's ability to live this double life is not just about his homosexuality, but also about his Irishness. Since being from Ireland means you were born double, capable of being angel and devil, both the same. You are talking to two when you talk to one Irishman. And this is used throughout the novel, this duality. And as the narrative is told through the eyes of McNulty, traces of his version of two-spirit wisdom permeates the novel, permitting value to emerge from desolation and interdependency to contradict a vision. This refers to the fact that in the Indians, we have McNulty's doubleness as cross-dressing homosexual, and poor Irish soldier forces him into seeing the world under a different perspective. And this different perspective resembles the wondrous kind he witnessed among native peoples, or the bird-ache braves that were bravest dressed in the finery of squaws or Indian wives, who still fought in men's garb only to return to the bright dress. This notion of what has become known as a true spirit in Indian culture implied people who were thought to embody both the feminine and masculine spirits, therefore existing as a third gender, with an alternative perspective on the world. As the narrative is told through the eyes of McNulty, with an alternative it traces this version, his version of this two-spirit wisdom. And close to the end of the novel, the narrator thinks it is the story of how he came to be an American and of everything put against him that he pushed aside. This everything he mentions is his struggle to survive, being poor, Irish, and homosexual in a racist and heterosexual country. Barry subverts the norms of the American West and the frontier, critically presenting race, class, gender, and sexuality as complex and intertwined formations of identity, as illustrated by the performances in which minorities as a gay couple and a Native American girl adopted by the couple played the roles of a man and a woman and a Black servant, played by the girl who had blackened her face to play the role of a servant, which opens up the possibility of discussing these elements as social constructs they really are. That's it. Sorry for this so brief presentation. Here I have some bibliography, and thank you. It's a pity that we won't have time to discuss, I think.
No, I don't think so. We should have started at, I mean, the next session at 9:45, and it's already 10. So I've been told, I'm sorry, but I've been told that I have to close the session here and go downstairs.
Okay. Dear.
So I'm terribly sorry about that. I think that maybe you can keep in touch via email or somehow you can exchange ideas that way. So sorry again about that.
Well, thank you.
Well, lovely to hear you and to see you all.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.